How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here today, checking out the games from Tradewest for the NES. There was 11 of them, and there's some great games here. Now, Tradewest was just the publishing company for some great games that you'll recognize because most of the games come from Rare. And of course, you've heard of Rare by now. You're talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day, GoldenEye 007, Perfect Dark, so many great games from Rare. But because Rare wasn't publishing their own games, they were developing them, but Tradewest was the publisher. It's like when you think about some of these great games like from Limited Run Games. Well, another company makes the game, but Limited Run Games is the publisher. It's kind of how that's working. But at the time, I didn't know the difference. I was just like, oh, this game's from this company. So in this video, 11 games from Tradewest. We're going to check them out. We'll rank them along the way. You'll get a little sneak preview to see what these games look like. Should have some fun. And I love doing these style of videos, but I also do other videos too, mostly about retro stuff. Love showing off stuff as well. So make sure you're subscribed. I do at least 2 videos a week. I would appreciate it. Kicking off the list with Battletoads. Probably the most overrated game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Quite possibly in the top 5 most overrated video games of all time, in my opinion. It's good. It's really good. The animation's great. That's one of the things I love about Rare. I mean, the animation's great. The sound is great. Everything's great. The difficulty, up there. I'll give it that. But the game itself is like... It's a decent beat 'em up, I guess. I like the comic kind of value that it brings to the table as well. I like the fact that the levels and some of the gameplay changes up styles after a while, like with like the motorbike scene or the the jumping and stuff like that, the big old snakes and all that. The snow level where you can actually like throw snowballs at your enemies. That's great. It's overrated, but it's still really good, and I will still give it an A. And then for no reason whatsoever, they brought out Battletoads Double Dragon, and the game is actually just called Battletoads Double Dragon, and it uses the Battletoads core for the fighting style. Double Dragon, in my opinion, is one of the best beat 'em ups of all time. Probably the most influential beat 'em up of all time. If it was gonna be a Battletoad, if Double Dragon's in the name, it should have been like a Double Dragon game that you can play as the Battletoads, not the other way around. And it takes place in outer space or some stupid, I mean, it's like, I don't know. So many confused memories. I played it, I beat it. It's like Battletoads. It's okay. It's just, it didn't need Double Dragon. It could have just been, I mean, that could have been Battletoads 2 in, Lost in Space or something stupid. But no, it's Battletoads Double Dragon. And, I mean, shout out for them for making the game. I mean, I bought one, but, it's just, it's an average mediocre beat 'em up. It's a C. It's completely unnecessary. Now, if you're shopping for NES games, you're at conventions, you have probably seen Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat around, but you never picked it up because you're just like, nah, whatever. It doesn't tell me anything. I'm here to tell you, I think it's a really good game. Now, if you loved Super Sprint, if you liked Super Sprint, I think you're gonna dig this game a lot. It plays a lot like Super Sprint, only there's a pit stop. So as you're going through, your guy will say, no, it's time to come in. So that's when you get your fuel back. It's when they fix up your car a little bit, and you're back off in the track. I think it's a really fun game. I really, really like this game. I'm gonna give it a B. Again, it's just like Super Sprint, but has that little bit of extraness to it. The first Double Dragon game was a game that most people who had an NES either had or played or rented or had a friend who had it, and you could just borrow theirs. This one's not quite the arcade version, which is unfortunate. It plays like its own thing. Again, with the NES games, taking the arcade game, putting it on the NES, they change it all up a little bit. And with Double Dragon, it almost has an experience factor where the more you play it, then you can unlock different moves. Like then you can do the drop kick, or then you can do the back elbow, or whatever it is. I didn't care for that style. I just wanted the arcade version. Like the one for the Master System was the arcade version. Love that version. The one for the Genesis, great. The one for the NES that we got, well, it had a 2-player battle mode, which was kind of fun for 2-player versus each other. I mean, you both had to be the same character, but that's fine. That was something new. It's legendary, it's iconic. They made sequels, but Tradewest was the only one that had the first Double Dragon. Double Dragons 2 and 3 were from something else, and that'll be another video for another time. But the NES version, it didn't hold up to the arcade version. I'm putting Double Dragon as a C. High speed, and I love pinball. I'm a huge fan of pinball, and I like video pinball too, but this was around the time they were still trying to figure out what video pinball was. Like they didn't have the mechanics down. They didn't quite have the weight of the ball. It didn't quite operate. I mean, like video pinball today, especially like the stuff from Zen Studios, it's as if you're standing there in front of a pinball machine. It feels great, and I love pinball. But this one, they were still trying to figure things out, and it was decent. It was cool to see a pinball game on television, right? But that weird thing where like your flippers are always in view, which you think is going to be really cool, but just confuses you even more. I didn't care for it at all. And the weight of the ball, and there's a word I'm thinking of, like the velocity or the, I don't know. It wasn't great, and to me, it's a D. Sorry, high speed. More like low speed. What? Oh, it's not just off-road. It's not just super off-road. It's Ivan Ironman Stewart's Super Off-Road, now available on your NES. 4-player simultaneous if you have the tap, and this thing is not great. It's it would be if it had the steering wheel. That was half the fun. To play it at the arcade with you and your friends and the steering wheel, and it plays like Super Sprint. Hey, it plays like Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat. Only you're in this off-road setting with the dirt and the stuff, and you get your nitro boosts, and I mean the nitro boosts were kind of cool. Great in the arcade, not so great on the NES. I'm not a fan, and I'm actually putting this game lower than Indie Heat. I'm putting this game as a D. Shout out for the 4-player ability. I love that. Just I'd rather play Super Sprint or something, you know. John Elway's quarterback with the photoshopped head and the helmet. I mean, it's like they took his face, they took a random helmet, they photoshopped it together, whatever Photoshop was back then, and called a football game about it. And the football game's not great. I'm sure John Elway is a legend. He was back in those days. I heard the name before the game came out, so I knew he was doing something right. And the game's terrible, and it's an F. I mean, it's like there's so many way better football games, even during this time. I mean, 10-Yard Fight is at least it's kind of playable, right? Well, actually, that's a bad example. There are other football games out there. How about that? Magic Johnson's Fast Break, which featured, of course, Magic Johnson. Very cool. And it was... I've never been a fan of basketball video games. And maybe it's because all throughout high school, my high school basketball coach was trying to recruit me. They're trying to poach me to be in the basketball team. And I can't play basketball. I have terrible depth perception. I'm not good at it to begin with. I liked shooting hoops, but that's not playing basketball. And just the basketball video games to me were never that great. I mean, of course, there's NBA Jam and stuff like that, sure, but, you know, even arch rivals to an extent. But, I mean, yeah, the NES basketball games, I could never get into them. And I'm putting this one as at least a D. But, I mean, to me, it's not even that. It's, to me, Magic Johnson's Fast Break is also an F. If you loved RC Pro-Am, we have RC Pro-Am 2. And RC Pro-Am was also by Rare, but I think Nintendo published that one, so that might make the Nintendo list whenever I do that video. RC Pro-Am 2, just like RC Pro-Am, the first one, and that was one of those kind of early Nintendo games that a lot of people had and a lot of people played. They made a second one, and it was the same but better, and there's more stuff to it, not as nostalgic, but super awesome, and I'm putting RC Pro-Am 2 as a B. I have a love-hate relationship with Solar Jetman. I want to love Solar Jetman so much. I love how it looks. Rare has that perfect way of like using the colors properly, has a perfect way of just the sound, the setting, and this game was cool because each world featured different gravity. So, you know, sometimes you're really loosey-goosey when you're flying around. Other times the gravity was like super heavy on you. So when you're trying to, you know, go into the catacombs and grab items and bring it back to your ship, it would really start pulling you in different directions, or you'd have to like really work hard at it and all that. But I just didn't have the patience for it. I didn't. And I love the animation and everything. And I want to love this game so much. And man, I just, to be honest with myself, I just couldn't get into it. But I still come back to it every once in a while just because I love how it looks. I love how it feels. I'll look up passwords just to go to different worlds, go to different levels because, me by myself, I think I never made it past the third world or something like that when I played it originally. I'm putting Solar Jetman as a C. And then we have Taboo. It's not a game. It's virtual cards, like tarot cards. It's an interesting experience if you've ever seen it before. There's no game involved to it. You literally just you can type in your name, your birth date, your gender, and you can ask it a question, and then it reads tarot cards for you, and it gives you lucky numbers, and that's all the game is. This game's an app. but it's a game licensed by the Nintendo Entertainment System. It has the seal of quality and everything. This passed inspection. Howard Phillips probably played this game and said, "Yeah, that'll do. That's good." People played this. I wonder if there's anybody who took this game really seriously. Here's the thing, though. When I captured this footage here, I asked it the question of when are we going to get out of this pandemic? And the tarot cards started coming back. Talking about things that are very similar to the situation that we're living in right now. during this pandemic. Like one of the first cards that popped up with the tarot cards was the Hermit, where you are, it's like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm self-isolating, things like that. So I was like, well, the more I think about it, the more I'm reading these, like, here's what's happening right now. It's like, who knows? Maybe there's something involved. I mean, there's not, but still. Interesting to see, and it's fun to just pop in, and it'd be like if they had a Magic 8-Ball NES game, which I'm sure some homebrewer probably has already made. But this is Taboo for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it's available, and I'm at least going to put it as, I have to put it as an F. It's not even a game. I was going to put it as a D, just because, when I asked about the whole question I just did when I did the game footage, I was like, maybe. It's like, no. I might do a video later just playing Taboo and just asking it a question and just see what happens, just so you can see what it's like. And I'll do that here pretty soon. Well, there's my list. Not great, but that's my list. And I've made so many more videos ranking games along the way and showing them off as well, from companies like Tecmo, from companies like Tengen, Capcom, LJN, so many more too. So make sure you check out those other videos as well if you haven't done so already. And I'll do some more videos coming up. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you very soon. We'll see you soon.